Hello and welcome to another episode of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. In today's episode, I am joined with a very special guest. His name is Ezekiel Aina. Ezekiel, how are you today?
I'm good. Nice to meet you,
Nice,
Feolami. How you
nice.
doing?
I'm really well. So,
Yeah.
Ezekiel is a dynamic leader, speaker, mentor, and policy advocate, deeply dedicated to advancing good governance, policy advocacy, and the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. So, Ezekiel's journey began back in 2019 when he assumed the role of an executive administrator at Mindful of Youth Initiatives. That's a non-governmental organization in Lagos focusing on the SDG 4, which stands for quality education. And since then, Ezekiel has been able to engage in various initiatives, including attending the EU-sponsored events on renewable energy and supporting empowerment programs with the United Nations, and even co-founding a policy advocacy group in Nigeria to address youth unemployment through policy dialogue. So I think I found Ezekiel through the UNICEF website, and that was how I found you. And then I was really interested in some of the things that you had been doing, and that was why I decided to reach out to you to join the show today. So is there any other thing you'd like us to know about you before we move on with the main topic for today?
I think that about summarizes it. I guess when we start discussing, our listeners and viewers would find out more. But it's such an honor to be here doing this with you.
Thank
Two
you.
young people trying to set the blaze the trail and set the pace for what we want to see. The positive changes that we would like to see in Nigeria as a whole, Africa and the world.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm
okay,
happy to be here.
thank you. So I'm curious, I think when we had our first discussion, you mentioned that you're 26.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So at 26, that's quite young. You're also a part of Gen Z. What would you
Yeah.
say prompted your interest in pursuing this at such a young age?
At a much younger age, right? I had always naturally desired to things like global peace, prosperity, governance, leadership. They've always been a part of my journey growing up. Primary school, class captain, secondary school, president of the Press Society, head boy, as we like to call it. So it's always been a part of my journey to lead, and in capacities where you lead, I've always been a strong advocate for leading with positivity, right? Not
Mm,
just being a leader, right? Leading with the mindset to help others, right? So that has always been a part of my journey, a part of my story. So when I got the opportunity to work with Mindful of Youth Initiative in 2019, that was, I guess, when everything started to make sense to me, right?
mm,
And before then, before 2019, in 2018, I was still in Unilag at the point, right? And because I didn't hold any executive position, as it were, but I had a strong relationship with the president, the head schools, and the likes. And because I had like good grades, to be fair, I was able to gets the opportunity to attend the EU Drain events
mm,
in at Terra Culture on the island in 2018. It was by the Katie Carlson, EU ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS at that time. So attending that event, first off, that was like the first event that I was attending on that scale. So it gave me a broad overview of what um, change really is all about, right? And pushing for change and driving it, the obstacles that you get to face, right? The resistance and the determination to continue pushing. So the desire had started, but it started to, get shaped,
develop.
started to make sense, develop at that point. And that went on to be, the catalyst that really led to a lot of other things that we'll probably discuss on this podcast today.
Mm. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing that, Ezekiel.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you just mentioned that you studied at Unilag, that's University of Lagos
yeah,
in
yeah.
Nigeria. What was
First
your
choice and the nation's pride.
What,
Yeah, yeah,
what was your university experience like at Unilag? And I know you studied mass communication. Do you think
yeah,
that has helped you in any way? So looking back at Ezekiel, who was like a freshman in university, a fresher,
yeah.
what would you say? What has changed since then? Do you think that you
Well,
in the pathway you ever thought you would be in? Because I know that when most people hear that someone is studying mass communication, the first thing they think of is, oh, they're going to be a journalist or they're
yeah,
going to work in PR. So I just want to
yeah,
know, how was Unilag for you and what do you think has changed since the time you were in Unilag?
yeah. Unilag was a great experience. Let's start with that. If anyone is watching this eventually or listening to this who went to Unilag, you know that Unilag is not for the weak. So
Mm,
it's a university that it has a broad dynamic of activities. Whichever way, if you want to be the cool, calm, and collected students in
mhm,
Unilag, you'll find your space. If you want to be the party having fun type of students, you'll find your space. If you want to be a scholar and link up with scholars like you, you'll find your niche. So it's really about deciding what you wanted to do. And me going into Unilag at the point, I mean, I was still 16, 17. I wanted to be a scholar. That
mm,
was my that was my mindset going into the university. So first class was
in
always
your
being drummed
head.
into our head. Because my brother also went to Unilag, studied mechanical engineering, graduated with a first class, best graduating student. So it was like a big challenge for me going into that same uni like that. So now I have a big I
That's a
have a
feel.
big full, yeah, a gap to fill, right? So I entered university with that mindset first person. I mean, eventually after first semester with some little dust bills, I knew, okay, maybe we need to tone down to reality, right? I mean, I still ended up with a good grade, but my experience in Unilag was great. I had amazing colleagues, I had amazing lecturers, trendsetters, some of which are really still doing great things today, right? So I mean, university was great, and from then on, I think studying mass communication, right? As you said, a lot of people they think that okay, when you're studying mass comm, it's all about standing in front of the TV or being a radio presenter or working at the dailies, this day
Mm,
punch or the likes, right? I
yeah.
mean, to be fair, the mindset I went in with
Hmm.
at the point was just to explore, right? I really wanted to just find out, okay, I don't know where I am eventually going to end up. I knew at the point that I didn't have any particular interest in being a TV presenter or being a
Mm,
radio presenter, but I was open to, okay, what else is there to mass communication, right? So eventually when I got in, I found out in Unilag there were three aspects. There was the broadcasting, there was journalism, which was the dailies and the like, and there was public relations and advertising. So I felt okay. I mean, if I'm not going with these two, I think this third one sounds interesting.
mm,
And so I went for public relations and advertising. And it eventually turned out to be a good choice, right? And I found the courses useful and I still find them useful till today, right? Mass
mm,
communication has given me the opportunity to not just connect, be bold, be
yeah.
assertive, go for opportunities, recognize and build relationships, lasting relationships, right? And I would say that the bane of the little success I have today, I still have very much to achieve. We have a lot to achieve, right?
Yes.
Is by being able to communicate what you want, finding the right opportunities, connecting with the people who can give you that opportunity, positioning yourself in places that can get you closer to the opportunities, right?
Opportunity.
And yeah, yeah. And so that has given me the opportunity to be able to, so I believe strongly that what I studied, right? In relation to what I'm doing now is definitely useful. So what I'm doing now is quite different, but what I studied really helped. It helps give me the ability to be able to communicate and express myself effectively and the likes. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, what are you doing right now apart from your policy advocacy, and your interest in the SDGs and development. So on a regular 9 to 5 basis, what do you do every day?
Yeah, on a regular 9 to 5 and sometimes on holidays, I am a sales and marketing professional.
Mm,
I've worked with two of the two foremost organizations in Nigeria, one in the paints industry and the other in the FMCG industry.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm basically I'm a salesman. I sell, right? I market, I position brands, I carry out pilot service, marketing, advertising, and the like. So that's basically what I do on a normal 9 to 5. Yeah, I also engage with like stakeholders, right? Building meaningful relationships with them in order to help my organizations achieve optimal success, because nobody's employing you to just come and everywhere I find myself, I try to create value. So I would say on a
Mm.
normal 9 to 5, I create value for organizations. Simple.
Okay, thank you. How
Yeah.
would you say you transgressed into sales as like you studied mass comm? So actually, I don't know if you've actually looked at my TikTok before, but if you haven't, there's a particular series that I post consistently, which I think a lot of students are usually interested in. It's called
Okay.
Careers to Pursue Based on Your Degree. So I've
Okay.
realized that a lot of students go into university not knowing exactly what they want to pursue when they are done. So
Yeah.
sometimes, being a Nigerian, when they write JAM, it's usually because maybe they were posted to a particular course and they just want to go to university, so they don't have a choice. They just have to go through
Yeah.
that pathway. So they now end up realizing that they don't know what they want to use their degree to study. So from
Yeah.
mass comm, how do you think you were able to smoothly transition into sales? And
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on degrees having transferable skills? Because I think a lot of students are not aware of the fact that even if you started in a particular pathway, there are certain skills that would help you to be able to transition into a new career path. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. That's a very great question. I'll take you back, and let me take you way back to my secondary school, right?
Mm,
While I was growing up, because I think this is a headache that a lot of Nigerian students don't have the pew for, right?
yeah.
It's a challenge that a lot of people are facing. What do I want to study? How do I align my interests with my course of study?
Mm,
Now I have studied, how do I determine the best career path to, not make my 4 years in the university seem like a waste, several other stuff. So I think there are different dynamics to it, right? So there is one where while I was growing up, I wanted to be a pilot, right?
mm,
So naturally, I should end up in science class, right?
yeah.
So I started all through primary school, secondary school, I wanted to be a pilot. And I think eventually this would also help speak to the helping students understand the difference between desires, right? And your talents and abilities, right?
Mm,
Being able to understand what a desire is and being able to understand what your abilities are, right? So I had the desire growing up in a rural community in Ogun State.
mm,
I I wanted to make the best of my life, right? So I was growing up in a rural community, but whenever I see planes flying in the air, right, I knew, okay, this plane is definitely taking people from Nigeria, maybe to the United States, to different
mm,
countries. My desire then was to see other parts of the world, explore, visit different places. So I felt, oh wow, pilots must really be enjoying, they get to visit different countries. So that desire then, right, the desire for a better life prompted me to want to be a pilot, right?
mm.
But then when I got into secondary school, up till SS1, I was still reading chemistry textbook and physics and the likes. But after 1 week in science class, I knew, nah,
It
this is not
wasn't
my
for
thing.
you.
It wasn't for me. So I teleported to commercial, no, sorry, to arts, right?
All right.
Because
Okay.
so what I eventually realized with regards to abilities was that calculations and numbers were not really my forte, right? They were,
Mm.
I would, obviously, I wasn't bad in mathematics, but I don't enjoy it naturally, right?
Mm.
So it now became a dilemma. Do I forge ahead and ensure that, okay, I improve my mathematical skills, right? Or do I just go for something that is more natural to me, reading novels? I mean, even while I wanted to be a science student, I read novels extensively. I had, even before, while I wanted to be a science student, they chose me to be the president of press club while I was in SS1. So, I mean, those things just started to, okay. I mean, so I went to art class. And then the stereotype was, if you're in art class, you're either a lawyer or you study mass communication or the
Mm.
likes. But my interest then was to study international relations and diplomacy, right? Because I felt, okay, I'm naturally someone who likes, I want the world to be a better place. I mean, if I can just put it, summarize it, I want the world to be a better place. International relations, United Nations, International Labour Organization, and the likes of those organizations are established to help in that pursuit. So I thought, okay, if I study international relations and diplomacy, Ambassador Ezekiel sounds nice. I mean, I think I'll still want to be an ambassador one day, right? Definitely, by God's grace. So
Amen.
yeah, so I thought, okay, let me study international relations and diplomacy. I wrote my jam. The first jam jammed me. The second one I passed, and then but I think at that point, the university that offered the opportunity for me to study mass and to study international relations, that is not a private university, which I mean technically I could not afford to attend at that point, was
Mm.
also demanding that I do something that would have calculations in it and the like. So I felt still I don't want to get into university and struggle with that. So
Mm.
and because my brother, like I said, I just finished from Unilag, so they just can't go to Unilag. Unilag didn't have international relations at the point. So I went for mass communication and well, I studied mass communication and now I'm a sales and marketing professional. How did I transition into that? So after university, right, 2019, I had the opportunity to work with at my first professional capacity
Mm-hmm.
as an intern, as a marketing assistant, and that was the opening at the point because I had studied public relations and advertising. Most typical marketing agencies or companies with marketing departments in Nigeria
Mm.
do a little bit of PR. They definitely advertise their products, right? And they like so the marketing department was definitely a good fit for me at the point. So whoever is watching this, you're studying mass communication as well, and you don't want to go the path of maybe broadcast or journalism, and you're studying maybe PR or advertising, fresh off university, marketing organizations can also help you, shaping or find the right flair for you. So I started in marketing, and I was able to work with a very, very strong brand in Nigeria. And the skills that came in handy at that point was, I think in any situation or in any profession you find yourself, being able to communicate with people, being able to build relationships is very key, right?
Mm.
So I found those skills useful. Of course, I had people who were my direct reports, so I started to learn, chain of command, how to communicate with your bosses, how to, carry out, how to do certain things on time. Nigerian youths are used to procrastinating. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it next week. But I mean, when you're in a work environment, you understand that there are certain deliverables that require urgency, right? So you have to sit up, do it. And also you have to be willing to go the extra mile, even when they don't ask you to do certain stuff. If you feel this is something that should be done that will enhance productivity, build you up, give you a good reputation, take the chance, do it. So those were really stuff that really helped me. And for marketing, I ventured into sales. Sales and marketing are still brothers, if I can put it that way.
Mm.
Marketing relies on sales, sales relies on marketing. So whoever is in marketing can easily transition into
Transition to
sales. Whoever
sales.
is in sales can easily transition into marketing. So essentially, I guess I have just been exploring if I can put it that way. My journey has been one of exploration, looking inwards, finding out, okay, what really interests me, and then really just going for it. Right. When the right opportunities present themselves,
Oh,
you go for it. Yeah.
thank you very much, Ezekiel.
Yeah.
So from what I've gathered from what you've said, internships are important, right?
Yeah.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of students are not aware of the fact that internships are really important to be able to discover
Yeah.
yourself. I think
Yeah.
I used to be someone against gap years because it's not something that the average students in Nigeria may be interested in. They may think that, oh, your classmates entered school last year. Why are you
Yeah.
doing waiting a year at home? But I think that
Mhm.
even through maybe a gap year for students to discover themselves,
Yeah.
because sometimes I like how you've also mentioned about how you have changed from dynamic to dynamic, from wanting to be a pilot to finding out that,
Yeah.
oh, that's not what was meant for you because you were not really that great in the science department, and
Yeah.
being able to find what situates for you in the right time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really like how you spoke about internships. I really like how you
Yeah.
spoken about different degrees can marry each other. So sales and
Yeah.
marketing
Yeah.
are brothers. Students, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of students need to be aware of the fact that even if you went in a particular pathway,
Yeah.
there are definitely different skills you may able to pick from those pathways to
Yeah.
transition into a new one. And then I think
Yeah.
another thing is continuous learning. Would you
Yeah.
say that continuous learning had any part to play in how you've been able to transition careers?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I have always been one for I think my brother introduced me to it, right? So I'm grateful for that. Um, continuous learning for me started in 2019.
Mm,
I think my first ever online course was by the British Council. There was a course they sponsored then, ideas for a better world, leading change through policy making, right?
yeah.
So I had taken that course in 2019, and I also had the opportunity to create a LinkedIn profile. So my LinkedIn profile that you see today was first created in 2019, I think, late 2019, early 2020. So from there I started building it. Whatever I learned, the courses I took a lot of courses on future learning. I was
Mhm.
just taking courses on policy, taking courses on digital marketing, taking courses through on Yali as well, Young African Leaders Initiative. There were several courses on public-private partnerships because I was just basically looking for courses that aligned with my interests, right? So
Mhm.
definitely personal development is very key. It broadens your perspective. You are basically learning something new that may
Mhm.
not be useful for that time, right? Most people think that learning is just learning for that moment. No, you may be learning for your future. You may be finding out, discovering new things today that would help you 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line. So me taking courses on policy advocacy, public-private partnerships and the likes and attending those conferences. I mean, now I'm doing sales and marketing, right? It may look like,
Yeah.
okay, what exactly do you need them for? But you would find out that you have to advocate most times in
Mm.
life, right? Advocacy is simply speaking up for something, speaking up for what you want to see, right? In workplace environments, if things are not going well, you have the opportunity to speak up and say, okay, how do we make this better? That's advocacy. It's not hard, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely believe that um, learning, continuous development is very key. You know, the more you learn, the more you read books, the more you study, it helps build your portfolio. Like today, I think I've done on my LinkedIn there about maybe 18 certifications. Some of them are not paid for. So most people always think that continuous learning is costly. No,
Mm.
there are free courses out there that you can take. You earn your certificates, you put it out there. You know, there are some that are paid for. There are my certificates from School of Politics, Policy and Governance that's funded by Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, right? That was paid for, you know, so you have to also make some certain sacrifices
Sacrifices.
personally for personal development as well. But look at the holistic vision, right, that you have for your life and ensure that you are not just doing this out of a desire to compete. No, right?
Mm.
Do it out of a desire to personally grow yourself and see them as steps towards where you want to be in the future. Yeah, so definitely I agree that personally. And I was going to add when you were saying when you're speaking about dynamics of
Yeah.
studying one thing and then doing something else. I mean, there are people, I think most of the people in Nigeria,
Mhm.
I'm not sure, but I'm just trying to proceed. Most of the students in Nigeria will find it difficult, and maybe those who study biochemistry or parasitology, those kind of courses. And then they
Yeah.
wonder, I'm studying parasitology in a country where we smash cockroaches and we kill mosquitoes. We don't study them, right? So what do I want to do with this? I've had people also who studied mass communication in my sets today who are musicians, who are
Mm.
content creators. So I'm saying it's not just about what you study, right?
Yeah.
It's about finding out what your real passion is, right? If
Is.
what you have studied helps you achieve your passion, beautiful. If after you have studied, you find out that, okay, what I've studied actually does not align with my passion. It is a degree, it is useful, right? But we are in a world where people are venturing into other things than what they studied, right? People are
Yeah.
exploring. People, I mean, you are studying to be a
A
lawyer, if
lawyer.
I'm
Yes.
yeah, and then here you are also having an NGO, curating content and posting on TikTok. So that's like content creation as well. So I
Mm.
think as human beings, we need to understand that we have the ability to multitask. You have the ability to achieve several things. As long as you're able to envision it, as long as you're able to put in the work, you can achieve several things. I wanted to do content creation sometime last year because I love cars. And I think I will still do that as a
Yeah. It's
business
not
or
too
something.
late.
So
It's not too
it's
late.
no, it's not too late. Yeah, you work on Mercedes Benz, right? So
Yeah.
I mean maybe, yeah, we'll build relationships after this. Yeah, but I'm just saying that, we all have the opportunity to do more than one thing. Life is not linear. Life is, holds a lot of
Different
opportunities.
pathways.
Yeah, different
Yes.
paths. As long as you're able to knock the door, and do the right thing, it's gonna open up for you.
Yeah. Finding out how to marry your pathways is very important.
Yeah, very important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ezekiel. I
Yeah.
have a question with regards to what you think Nigerian universities need to do to train
Okay.
students on this. Because I think a lot of students in Nigeria, because they're not exposed, they usually just sit down and fold their arms and say, oh, because I haven't been taught this, I don't know what to do. So, would you say that Nigerian schools need to implement this into their curriculum so that more students are aware of the opportunities that they have access to?
Yes, definitely. I think if I'm putting up my advocacy cap now, I'll say that definitely the Nigerian educational system needs an overhaul, right?
Mhm.
Especially with regards to curriculums. I
Yes.
mean, when I got into the university, I mean, I'm not mincing words here. I think I was being taught with 1990 course notes. I was being taught with I mean, curriculums that date way back, right? So I
Mm.
think that the Nigerian educational system, Minister for Education, the ASU presidents and the like really need to focus on what really matters, right?
Yeah.
Education is the bane of knowledge. Education is what broadens the mind. And if you are saying the youth, like they say, are the future, are the leaders of tomorrow. I like to believe we are the leaders of now, right? We are the
Yeah.
leaders of today. And if we do not have the proper education, if we do not have the proper curriculum, I mean, our counterparts in Asia, in the Western world, are really going into AI. They're incorporating all of these great tech tools and the likes into what they teach. Yeah. So I feel like if we're able to have an overhaul, not
Hmm.
a drastic overhaul, but just start incorporating. There are a few things that work now, right? But if we're able to incorporate other certain skills into the educational curriculum, I mean, I think it will go a long way in preparing the young people before they get out there. Excel skills, emotional intelligence, workplace culture. These are things that, if everyone is
Aware.
aware of, yeah, they would be able to, we'll all be able to try. better. So I think this is definitely important. Yeah, and I'm advocating for this. I'm sure Feolami is also advocating for this. So
Yeah.
please, Nigerian government, educational stakeholders. It's not just about the government, right? Educational stakeholders, people with some sort of interest in the academics. Please try to ensure that we take a different mindset, a different approach to what we
Mm.
teach, so that what is being learned is beneficial in the long run.
Yes, I completely
Yeah,
agree because I think
yeah,
there's a skill set lack in the youth because they just not are not aware. I think earlier in our
yeah,
conversation, you spoke about how there were a lot of skills you needed to learn, especially
yeah,
during your internship period before you were able to
yeah,
transition into sales. So
yeah,
things like emotional intelligence, things like
yeah,
active communication, things like
yeah,
listening to people, things like
yeah,
time management. These
yeah,
are essential skills that they never die. So I think
yeah,
that another problem some youth have is because they think that some skills will not be necessary when they leave university. But I think that there are
yeah,
some things that never change. So being able to learn these skills to improve yourself. There was a person that I posted a job on my TikTok page. There was a job opening for people between the ages of like 18 to like 25. And when she was speaking with me about some of the problems that people had, there was a particular person that when she sent the application for her CV, so I think someone referred her to the job. So she thought it was maybe the person who referred her she was speaking with. So she just forwarded her CV and she was like, oh, from this person to this person. And the lady was like, she wasn't even going to open her CV because that's not the way to speak with someone. So even
yeah,
little things like this that a lot of youth
yeah,
are not aware about, I think it's
yeah,
important that the skill development is improved completely so that more youth can acclimate themselves into different spaces. So
yeah,
yeah. Um, so I also liked how you spoke about, so you said you wanted to study international relations, national
yeah,
diplomacy, but I think
yeah,
somehow you've already kind of ventured into that. So you're living like a double
yeah,
life kind of, because
yeah,
you have
yeah,
sales and marketing on one end, and even though you
yeah,
didn't study it in school, you have international diplomacy and being able to build your own community and advocacy on the other end.
yeah,
So I think
yeah,
it also goes to say that even if you didn't directly study something in school, that doesn't mean that you cannot pursue that thing outside of school. And you can also
absolutely.
start it while you are in university. So I want to also
Yeah.
hear if you have any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And now that you mentioned, I think I am actually still on my path to international relations and diplomacy, right? Because now that I didn't study it per se in the four walls of the university,
Mm,
of a classroom, now I'm taking my own personal little steps towards that. And I've been quite fortunate to, have certain advocacy opportunities with UNICEF, where you
mhm.
found me, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's so interesting that I did that way back, and that was still how they found me. I mean, it's on my LinkedIn page, but I mean, that was interesting to find out, and it goes to say that I mean, whatever you do today can still help you way down in the future,
The
right? So
line.
I've had the opportunity with UNICEF. The same person that helped me in UNICEF also connected me to Oxfam. So that speaks to relationship, building good relationships. I've had opportunities with International Labour Organization. I've had opportunities with a few other, I mean, even other tech firms in the US, right?
Mm,
Who have had, I mean, I'm still in communication with them. So I think just being intentional, right, gets you to where you want to be, right? So I
yeah.
may not be that today, but I'm looking at the I'm looking
Near
at the
future.
holistic picture, the near future. Thank you for using that word, near future, right? And I'm just, positioning myself, preparing myself so that yeah. So it's definitely something worthwhile, what's doing.
Okay, I think we've come to the end of today's conversation. I'd like to thank
Okay.
you so much for joining me today, Ezekiel. I know you have to go soon because you
Yeah,
have a meeting to run to, but I'd really like to
yeah,
thank you for joining me today.
it's
Um,
such a pleasure.
yes, I will definitely be linking your LinkedIn in the podcast session so that
Okay.
people, if anyone wants to connect with you or find
Yeah,
you, or if they're
Yeah.
interested in any of the amazing things you're doing, they'll be able to connect with you there. So
Yeah.
I'd like
Yeah.
to thank you for joining us, and we definitely
Mm,
need more people who are doing these things. I'm happy
yeah.
to have been able to find you and find a group of people who are like-minded in wanting to change Nigeria and Africa as
Yeah.
a whole, because
Yeah.
as you said, we're the leaders of now, we're the leaders of
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah.
we need to actively start putting that into people's heads so that they know
Yeah.
that we're not as young as they thought we were. Some people still see us
Yeah.
as like babies. Well, we're all growing, we're
Yeah.
all developing. It's not until we're in our
Yeah.
40s that we need to start making change. The change needs to
Yeah.
start happening now. So I'd
Yeah.
like to thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you as well. This is an endorsement from me. The youth definitely have a voice, and Feolami is definitely doing a very great job. I'm
Thank you.
impressed that so. I mean, when you reached out, I had no idea that someone at such a young age, is really pushing and driving this. And it also speaks to the power that women possess, right? So
Yeah.
most women believe that, oh, they are the backbone, they are they are second fiddle to male. No, women should also step up, right? And also go for these things, and young people in general, if we're able to galvanize and come together and really put our voice out there, it would really help create and curate the future that we definitely desire. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel. So if you liked
Yeah.
this episode, please make sure to follow and subscribe. We can't wait to see you, and thank you for joining us today. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
All
Cheers.
right.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.